Bună seara, doamnelor și domnilor! Vă mulțumim că sunteți alături de noi. Ascultați Radio AVFM, Vocea Europei.
Jó estét, hölgyeim és uraim! Köszönjük figyelmüket! Önök az a AVFM Rádió Európa hangja műsorát hallgatják.
And, good evening ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. You are listening to A Voice for Men Radio, the voice of Europe. A Voice for Men is the flagship of the men's rights movement. And this show is probably the only one at this point addressing the issues concerning men and boys at a European level. If you ever thought that there's something wrong regarding the state's approach to men and their issues, this is the best place to start. This is the place where feminism gets to be called out on its lies and propaganda, and the state is invited to get out of people's lives. Please consider visiting avoiceformen.com and see how the truth in action sounds like. We are here and we don't plan on leaving anytime soon. And now, Lucian Balzan shall bring us on today's topic.
And we're back. Greetings everyone, this is Lucian Volsan broadcasting from Transylvania. Alongside with me is Herr Jon Gunnarsson broadcasting from Germany and James Huff broadcasting from the United States. Hi there, Jon.
Greetings everyone. How's it going?
Well, it's going just fine. The weather is becoming increasingly annoying. In the last 4 days I had the impression that I'm living in London. It rarely stopped raining and now it's I would actually argue that it's freezing outside. It's goddamn cold.
Okay, for us the weather has also been really bad in the last couple of days, but it's actually improving. It was only raining earlier in the week, and now today was the first day it was sort of reasonably good weather.
It's cold because of all that global warming, man.
Of course. It has to be. I mean, there is no other logical explanation. Alright, well, with that being said, let's move straight to the news.
You are listening to AVFM Radio, the voice of Europe. This is the news.
Okay. The first piece of news, some of you might have already seen it. It's been on the front page of AVFM for the last few days. But anyway, Sweden's feminist initiative wins a seat in the European Parliament. Following the European elections that took place on Sunday, May 25 in Sweden, the political party Feminist Initiative, Feministiskt Initiativ, garnered 5.3% of the voters' shares, surpassing the 4% national threshold for the first time. The voter turnout in Sweden stood at 48.8%, the largest turnout in Sweden since this country is a member of the European Union. The percentage that Feminist Initiative, sometimes referred to as got in these elections entitles the party to one seat in the European Parliament, which will be occupied by FI's top candidate Soraya Post, who will quit her job as the strategist at the Rights Committee in the Swedish region Västra Götaland. Soraya Post joined the Feminist Initiative in November 2013, declaring that reading the party's political program was like finding home. Prior to the elections, Soraya Post declared that she would like to have the EU create a commission of truth to investigate the crimes against gypsies and establish a EU-wide truth on the matter. She also said that if elected, she will push for the creation of 2 new commissioner portfolios in the European Commission, namely the European Commissioner for Gender Equality and the Commissioner for Combating Racism. After the results were announced, Soraya Post declared to the Swedish media that she feels vindicated. "There are so many emotions that I have now. Somehow I feel vindicated for my people, and as a woman, the people have shown that they like and that there is room for our feminist politics and that this is not exclusionary." The political party is led by radical feminist Gudrun Schyman, who was in the past the leader of the former Communist Party, now reformed into the leftist party. In the night of the elections, following the interviews with the press, Schyman held a speech in front of the party members gathered to celebrate the result. Now we will soon be having 15,000 members. Then we will be equal with political parties that have been around for 100 years. This says a lot about the power of the people. We're almost invincible. Following the standing ovations from the audience, Schyman added, "We have just completed an election campaign but started a popular movement. This doesn't stop today." Gudrun Schyman and the Feminist Initiative were attacked several times in the Swedish media during the campaign for failing to explain certain aspects of their program or for their allegedly totalitarian platform. Former Moderate Party magazine editor, feminist and current love coach Caroline Dahlman accused FI of having a political program that basically assumes that they should be the ones who will dictate how everyone else should live, citing provisions from the FI's political program, such as mandatory vegan school meals or abolition of private education, to make her case. Helen Bergman, internationally renowned Swedish feminist, went one step further and said that the FI attracts white broken women who want total power and harshly criticized the bullying tactics that FI's activists have employed against anyone who dissented from their point of view. Erik Helmersson from Dagens Nyheter published a piece calling the rise of FI to be amusing and a little scary, citing the fact that FI's political program demands training for almost anyone who is likely to disagree with FI's analysis of the world. William Andersson, the head of AVFM Sverige, however, believes that the Swedish media has largely been the engine behind FI's success. The election debate in Sweden has been very strange. All the media has totally been focused on to the point of obsession on the new Social Conservative Party, and that they seem to think they have a secret Nazi agenda. On the other side of the scale, the feminists have been coddled and named as the arch enemy of the dreaded Nazis, and that led to this situation. The feminists have campaigned in a very clever way, but they are, as we know, masters in disguising their true agenda. And in this election, the media has supported them in a very disgusting, overtly partisan mode. Tuklanet Sverige, Swedish non-feminist blogger, added that it's actually understandable how they got here. There was a report on TV in which they interviewed people who have voted for FI and asked them about FI's policies, and they could not respond to anything. Quite a few of them simply do not know what FI stands for, but voted them anyway, while others who voted for them have an ingrained pure hatred of men in themselves. It's horrible. FI has in its party program that men ought to be sent to a retraining course to change their consumption patterns, a provision which liberal commentator Rebecca Weidomo-Uvel compared with the concept of re-education camps. Nobody in FI was willing to make clear whether they refer to all men or only some men. Tuklanet Sverige rhetorically asked, "I'm wondering whether Europe is ready for a political party that actually wants re-education camps for men." Gudrun Schyman completed the night expressing hope that in the September national elections, FI will finally succeed in entering the Swedish parliament. I told you so. I told you so.
You did?
When did I make the prediction? Was it that 2 weeks before the elections? Something like that, yeah, 2 episodes ago. I said they'll definitely get at least one. They were quite close to get 2 seats, by the way.
No surprise there, yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't actually surprise me very much that a feminist party would get 1 seat from Sweden, so... I mean, even a feminist party is crazy as that.
You would have expected. I mean, I can understand the rationale behind the lines that I was getting from some of the Swedish commentators who were telling me, well, they might get 3% tops, but they won't manage to surpass the threshold because even most of the feminists disagree with the way they frame things. And I said, never underestimate the power of crazy, especially the power of, the power of the so-called opinion leaders. And I published an article on the front page. It's still there. There's actually good news coming from Sweden. And if you look at the way the district where the cool people live, you know, the middle-class left-wing bigots, you see there that the radical left, the Green Party, and then right after that the Feminist Initiative are the most voted political parties. It's pretty much like the same case in Germany, isn't it, Jan?
Well, I guess the Green Party is very much something that sort of the left-wing intelligentsia vote, but the Left Party not so much. Left Party is very much voted in the former GDR, just from general people.
Yeah, but then again, Die Linke in Germany has a very harsh history, and even some of the intelligentsia might be reluctant to vote for a party that managed the Stasi not so long ago. On the other hand, in Sweden, Vänsterpartiet doesn't really have this kind of a history because Sweden has been lucky enough not to have a Soviet regime on its soil, so consequently the intelligentsia is more likely to support such a political party. But nonetheless, the fact that they got 5%, now I would have expected 4%. That was the expectation that I had from them. I mean, 4.1 at best, one seat and that's it, the absolute minimum. The fact that they got 5.3 and then on top of that, the entire Swedish media celebrating this result, that was a very horrific show to watch. Really.
Yeah.
One could say that, well, William Andersson, he's from AVFM Sverige, he might be exaggerating, but he wasn't. I watched the Swedish media. I watched the discussions right after the elections. I was standing with the live stream from SVT, and no, the media was overtly celebrating it. Like, I don't know, something big. I mean, I think that if Sweden will win the World Cup, had won the World Cup in soccer, there would have been less celebration in the media than the fact that FI got 5.3%. Amazing.
I mean, the media has always has a sort of left-wing bias and feminist bias. That's nothing new. And in Sweden, I would guess it's worse than other places. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway. Well, we'll talk a bit more about Sweden in the second part. Let's move to the next one. Jan?
Yep, it's a piece from the Telegraph. It's called Compulsory Chess for Schoolgirls. Will schoolgirls master the men's game of chess? Chess is very much a man's world. A woman has never won the World Chess Championship, which began in 1886, and only 2% of all chess grandmasters are female. But the problem isn't that women are worse at chess than men. It's that there are far, far fewer women chess players than male ones. This is ridiculous right from the start. I mean, it's like saying that it's not that I am worse at chess than Magnus Carlsen. It's just that I've stopped playing chess. So yeah.
It's not like men suck at rhythmic gymnastics. It's just that far, far fewer male players. Really? Mm-hmm. No, men suck at rhythmic gymnastics. That's an established fact. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Lauren DaCosta, 29, an international master. That's one level below a grandmaster, which is the highest level you can be. It tells me that this is because girls tend to stop playing chess around the age of 12, while boys continue on. Quote, girls don't continue playing because they drop out too early, he explains. They think it's not worth all the hassle. A lot of girls think, why should I do this when I can hang out with my friends? But DaCosta is helping to change this attitude, at least in one of London's girls' schools. He is employed by North London Collegiate School to give compulsory chess lessons to the primary school pupils, aged 6 to 8. On top of that, he runs an after-school chess club for both the primary and secondary school girls. The club went from having one attendee back when it started 4 years ago to having a peak of 20. NLCS is one of the only schools in the UK to dedicate so much time to chess, and it's all part of encouraging girls to stick with chess, so the gender divide can eventually be evened out at the higher level. I highly doubt that. Already things are looking up, as 2 of the top 3 players in the last UK schools chess challenge were girls, and more than 70,000 children took part. DaCosta tells me, you find the boys more obsessive, with an attitude of, I'm really going to go for it, he says. Boys say, I want to be the best at one thing. but I don't believe that chess should be just a boy-related game. It's harder for girls unless you go to a school like this. Girls in some schools might be the ones who don't quit because they were high up and want to take it further. I know what he means because I was one of those girls who dropped out. After winning my primary school's championship aged 11, I quit chess when I got to secondary school. I knew I would never be a champion, so I stopped playing and dabbled in some other hobbies instead, using the free time to see my mates more. I didn't feel like I was missing out because, honestly, chess was not cool. At all. The girls at NLCS Chess Club agree that chess still has a bad reputation, but they get around it by not talking about it. To them, the first rule of Chess Club is that you do not talk about Chess Club. Elizabeth, 13, who represented England in the under-12s, says, "If you talk about it all the time, it makes you nerdy and uncool. But if you don't talk about it and just go to chess club, you'll be fine." Steve Barrett, who plays for the White Rose team in the European Championship, thinks this is why there are so few girls interested in chess. Quote, "I guess it's because chess isn't perceived as being particularly cool as an activity, and the age when you're getting into chess, which these days is pretty young, cool matters," he says. When girls get to 12, 13, 14, they're interested in other things. There aren't so many role models for girls on the top level, and it's not considered a particularly cool activity, even though it's not as nerdy as it used to be. At the moment, the only real role models for girls are Judith Polgar, the only woman in the top 100 and the strongest female player of all time, Hu Yifan, the women's world chess champion, who is only 20 years old, and the former women's world champion Alexandra Kostinuik, who is campaigning to get younger people into chess. You can pretty much count them on one hand compared to the hundreds of male grandmasters, and with today's teens being fed a constant diet of Miley Cyrus and One Direction, it's no surprise that many girls just opt out. Malcolm Payne, the Telegraph's chess columnist, an international master and founder of Chess in Schools and Communities, which aims to bring chess into state schools, tells me, "Girls mature earlier and, like many things, becomes classified as a silly game or just something that boys do. Quite a lot of boys give up too, but far more girls do. It's really skewed. Like a lot of things, when you have far more boys than girls, they make a lot more noise." The girls agree with this. Anya, 12, a member of NLCS's chess club, tells me that there were always a lot more boys at tournaments. Sometimes as much as 100 boys to 2 girls. Quote, "More of them were quite aggressive and loud and gross," she says. "They would stamp their pieces down and bang the clock." When I ask the group whether the lack of girls in chess bothers them, they all say yes. But they do appreciate the benefits. Sophia, 15, says, "It does kind of annoy me that there aren't very many girls, but it works to your advantage. In quite a few tournaments, there's always a girls' prize. If there aren't many, you're likely to get that position." But the separate competitions...
Hold on. I just have to interject here.
Go ahead.
So, it's okay to be mediocre is what she's saying.
Yep.
Oh boy, I got a prize! Yeah, there were 2 people there maybe who could have gotten it. Wow, your chances were really fucking slim, right?
Get a prize for being the top 50%.
Anyway,
first or second to last.
Yeah, you're just the second. You're the runner-up. Sure, there were only 2 people, but you are the runner-up. I mean.
On the other hand, if you win, you're just the second worst person at the tournament. So that's that also. Let's go on.
Yeah.
This, Payne says, is why more women are climbing up the ratings list, because they are deciding to play against men and thus gain more points when they defeat the higher players, mainly men. Oh, sorry, I think I skipped a paragraph. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you did.
but the separate competitions could be the reason why women are not on the same level as men. Payne explains that women like the Polgar sisters, Judith's sisters, are also major players, only succeeded in chess because their father refused to let them take part in women's only competition. He told them, "The only reason girls aren't as good is because they're only playing girls." This, Payne says, is why more women are climbing up the ratings list, because they are deciding to play against men and thus gain more points when they defeat the higher players, mainly men. It means about chess clubs like the girls only one at NLCS are a great initiative. It still leaves girls mainly playing against other girls. If we want to even out this playing field once and for all, more and more UK schools need to encourage their girls and boys to play chess, preferably together. Payne's charity is a good place to start, as is hiring a chess teacher like NLCS has done, but more needs to be done to get girls to stick with chess, so they can eventually reach those high levels and become the role models that they never had.
Right.
So much wrong with this.
Now, first of all, the compulsory part is what bothers me. I mean, we don't have the equality of outcome that our favorite ideologues wish. Well, then let's just force them, because potato.
Yeah.
Really?
There's this crazy obsession that things always must be equal between men and women, at least when it's women who are sort of falling behind. But why? Where's the problem if men are better at chess? I mean, it's not like women are barred from playing chess or anything. They just don't want to. So, where's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, the author of this piece, for instance, blames the fact that, well, she perceived it as uncool, and therefore she dropped playing chess at the age of 13 or whatever she says somewhere in the article. And whose fault is that? I mean, it's men's fault that you were not interested in playing competitive professional chess? Really?
I mean, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. I mean, if you want to be a great chess player, you need to put in a lot of effort. And it's not always going to be fun. It requires a lot of effort, but it requires a lot of effort for men too, or for boys. I mean, I was actually, when I was like really young, I played chess quite competitively, like when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And was really good also, but then I just lost interest in the game and stopped playing. Does that now mean that I can sort of blame society for not forcing me to keep playing chess or something? No, I mean, I just made a decision to stop playing chess, and that's that.
Yeah, same here. I mean, there was a time when I was facing some national and even a European vice champion. And then, yeah, the same thing. I said, well, no, I'm going to stop doing that because potato, it doesn't matter why. But it was the decision that I made, and as a consequence, I'm not a grandmaster now. I'm the host of this show. So, but it's not anyone's fault. It's at best, it's my fault. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to be a grandmaster. I wasn't interested enough to pursue it. I'll probably die before understanding why is this obsession that everything has to be not just equal, but equal in outcome, because there is equal opportunity in chess. Just ask Judith Polgar. I mean, this person from the Telegraph mentions Judith Polgar, but she doesn't quote anything from Judith Polgar, because if you Google her name and you find out what she thinks about girls' tournaments and initiatives like this, well, the entire narrative collapses. Because Judith Polgar is a relatively young woman, but who grew up in communist Hungary, and she tends to have opinions similar to mine, which is, if you want to do something, just start doing it and stop complaining. If you think you're good, then prove that you're good. If you're not good, then fuck off. Yeah,
I think the most women who actually make it to the top in competitive fields like chess think in similar terms.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not just to chess, but in everything. I mean, most of the women who end up in positions such as CEO of a grand company or things of that nature. I was reading recently, the biggest company in my country is run by a woman. It's a petroleum company, and the CEO is a woman. And so some fembots went to her and asked her if she experienced sexism at workplace, and she basically told them to fuck off. I mean, really. I don't understand this obsession, but the portion that really bothers me is the compulsory part. Let's force everyone to do exactly what we want. Why? Can't just kids be kids, and if they think chess is uncool, then okay, then chess is uncool, and that's it? Why? What's so wrong in this idea?
I don't know, it's not allowed because then we want to have women's equality or something.
I don't know, it's sickening. It's bizarre, and it's... Anyway. Alright, let's go to the next piece of news.
Okay, that's also from me. It's from the Daily Mail. And it's called Hundreds of Police Fail Fitness Tests That's Set to Become Compulsory. Female staff found to be more unfit than their male colleagues. Hundreds of police have failed new fitness tests which are due to become mandatory later this year, official figures show. Interim results submitted by 39 forces to the College of Policing showed that 851 officers fell short, with 3% failing overall in more than 30,000 tests. After taking part in the 50-meter bleep shuttle run test, some 253 of the 22,078 policemen who took part, an average of 1%, and 598 of 7,969 policewomen, an average of 8%, were unsuccessful. The new fitness testing, which will become compulsory in September, was brought in after recommendations made by Tom Windsor, the Chief Inspector of Constabulary. The worst failure rates were seen in Suffolk, 7%, West Midlands, 5.8%, West Mercia, Warwickshire, 5.6%, and Gwent, 5.5%. Humberside and Northumbria police were the only two forces out of a total of 43 in England and Wales who boasted a 100% pass rate for men and women. Data is still not available for the Metropolitan Police, the country's largest force, Lancashire, Gloucestershire and Cumbria. The Windsor recommendations stated that all police should be made to take a bleep test annually, with participants having to complete a 15-meter shuttle run in shorter and shorter periods, reaching level 5.4, 4 shuttles at level 5. Police with special responsibilities are expected to perform at higher levels, with dog handlers required to complete level 5.7 and those who handle firearms able to do level 7.6. Mr. Windsor also recommended that from 2018 the test should be made harder, using challenges based on the type of things an officer might face on duty. But this is being considered by the College of Policing in case it has a detrimental effect on women. Assistant Chief Constable Rob Price said, "The results to date are encouraging and show the vast majority of officers tested are fit. Police forces are sending their results to the college on a quarterly basis, and an equality impact assessment is being carried out on those results. New guidance will be issued to forces later this year, with a strong emphasis on providing supportive measures to help officers pass the test."
So we shouldn't be testing them harder in order to make sure that they're actually fit to protect those who pay them, namely the taxpayers, because in case it might have a detrimental effect on women.
Yeah. So the question is not are policewomen fit to do that job? The question is, how do we make the tests so that they show that policewomen are capable of doing that job?
Yeah, but then again, I mean, which is more important, the safety of the citizenry or the feelings of 500 women who happen to be unfit for the job?
Yeah, it's completely backward. It's a completely backward approach. Normally, you have the fitness test to test if people are fit, but here we have the fitness of women to test if the test is any good, basically.
Yeah, and also this one, we make an equality impact assessment based on those results. What's the relevance of that?
Yeah, what I'm actually really surprised by is that 8% of women fail this. So I don't know, do they have the same requirements for men and women? I'm not actually that sure on that.
I don't think so. I don't know if anyone knows the British police forces. Please inform us on that in the chat. I don't know, but I highly doubt, because in most of the countries in Europe there are not equal requirements for men and women in the police, which on one level I could understand, but on the other hand, if you really want so-called equal pay for equal work, well, then fine, I agree with the equal pay, but then it has to be equal work as well. And as long as you have easier standards for women, then that's not equal work. That's less work.
Yeah, exactly. Or just work of lower quality.
Oh my God, you're using logic. How dare you?
Yeah, I remember once here in Romania, the police, the chief of police from a county, I think it was from Vâlcea, he said that if it were for him, he would fire all the women that he has in his subordination. The reason why he said that was that because he was accused of being misogynistic, because he instituted a rule in which it says that the staff will have its salaries increased or decreased based on their quarterly fitness tests, and because of that aspect, well, a significant proportion of the women folk in that place had to suffer some wage cuts, because it's the fucking biology. And everyone go, oh, but you're a misogynist. You made this decision just to the detriment of women. And he said, no, wait a minute. Yeah, indeed, 70% of the people who faced wage cuts were women, but 30% of them were men. I just want to have fit officers patrolling the streets, because the Vâlcea County was at that time the one of the most unsafe counties in the country, and logically he wanted to have a police force able to deal with the problem. And then they accused him of misogyny, and he said, yeah, if I were for me, I would fire them all. How's that for misogyny? But then again, I disagree with that. Well, let's fire them all. But really, this is dangerous, and it's not the first time that Britain does crap like that. If you remember, James, we had once another article where basically they were saying that women are disadvantaged because there are not enough Kevlar helmets available for them in certain environments, or that the tests for becoming a guardian of the nuclear plants are too high, and therefore they're detrimental.
They actually complained, because they said that all these privately mass-produced weapons that were being put out there did not have grips that they could use.
Yeah, and wasn't also from Britain where I'm not sure if it's police or military, where they were forced to march with too long strides, and therefore they had some sort of injury and got a huge amount of damages from that.
200,000 pounds or something like that. Yeah. I remember that case as well. What the hell, Britain? I mean, seriously, decide yourself. I mean, if you're going to have a law or a practice that says, look, women's feelings in the police force are far more important than the protection of the citizenry, fine, but at least be honest and admit it. And then on the other hand, deregulate that. Britain has one of the most totalitarian gun-carrying laws in Europe, probably after Belarus or something like that. But anyway, but at least relax the other part and tell the citizenry to fuck off. I mean, look, you, the citizenry, defend yourselves, because we're far more concerned about women's feelings, and we're not gonna care if the police force is unfit to protect you. At least let's be honest.
It's sort of part of this whole sort of egalitarian, politically correct notion that there are no fundamental differences between different groups. So you cannot acknowledge that there's differences or average differences between men and women, or between different ethnicities or races or religions or whatever. If those differences do exist, we just have to pretend that they don't, and every difference that exists must therefore be due to discrimination or something like that.
Yeah, and you have to remember that those differences can be acknowledged, however, as long as they advantage the vanguards of the new revolution. I mean, racial minorities, women, and so on and so forth. I mean, if you say, for instance, look, black men run faster than everyone else on the planet, that's okay. But if you say women in general run significantly slower than everyone else on the planet, well, that's sexist. You can't do that. I mean, we can't
because logic.
Because logic and because patriarchy. Actually, I don't know if you know that, but there was a Swedish documentary, I think, but based on British research that showed that basically these differences are because we feed our girls differently than our boys, and consequently, it's basically a patriarchal decision that made these differences possible, and things of that nature. Of course, in complete disregardment of the fact that if you feed a 13-year-old girl in the same manner that you feed a 13-year-old boy, then that girl is likely to develop a significant number of diseases. But that's not something that you can say because, So if you
diseases or just blow up like a blimp.
No, really. I mean, there are a significant plethora of diseases that can be developed if you're going to attempt to do such thing.
I'm also curious, like what sort of diseases are you talking about there?
Yeah, is obesity a disease?
No, but the diseases that recur from obesity are quite real.
So is it just about the amount that they eat, or the type of food, or what?
Both, according to the British-Swedish scientists who compiled that documentary. I didn't get a chance to see it, and no, I'm not going to spend $50 to buy it. But if I'll ever be able to find it on some pirated torrent or something like that, I'm going to download it and watch it and laugh my ass off. Because, seriously, it's that level of insanity. Okay. Moving forward, just like the EU loves to move forward. Going to my backyard. Oh my god, this is particularly stupid. Mediafax.ro, senator PNL, cei care intră pe site-uri pentru adulți ar trebui să plătească abonament. The National Liberal Party, those who access porn websites should pay a subscription. The senator from the National Liberal Party, Sebastian Grappels, claims that pornography is a pleasure which, just like others, should be taxed, and those who access these kinds of websites should pay a monthly subscription. And he also mentioned that he personally accessed some of them to note how many people access them daily and to check their statistics. Quote, the government transforms certain pleasures in matters that must be taxed, and this is a pleasure that should be taxed, he said at the debate in the Senate following a legislative proposal to modify the law number 196 per 2003 regarding prevention and combating pornography, as well as law number 571 per 2003 regarding the tax code. The initiators also show in their exposition of motives that the materials with pornographic character and also the services of this nature do not represent a necessity, and they also do not represent large consumption services, and so they can be easily framed as a luxury good, showing that in these conditions the necessity of overtaxation becomes obvious, and the measure will have a positive impact on the incomes to the state budget. In this project, it is also proposed the introduction of a fixed tax for each object or publication with pornographic nature, and and also the acquittal of an annual licensing fee to by the economic operators who do activities specific to this field, as also the obligativity of paying a monthly subscription for accessing websites of pornographic nature. Through this legislative initiative, there are also regulation measures instituted and control of activities of pornographic nature, and it is also established a way to sell them and the way to access them in the purpose, of course, of protecting the minors, I don't know how to translate this word, and public morality. The Commission for Budget and Finances and the Judicial Commission are proposing, however, to the Parliament to reject the initiative, showing that these proposals cannot be applied, given the fact that there is no official organism to frame the activities and the products. And also, there's no way to really regulate them. In his intervention in the session, Sebastian Grappas claimed that pornography is a disease of the society, and that at least through this project, the state will get something out of it. Let me make a quote from Sebastian Grappas. Let me make you a very simple calculus to demonstrate that there are a lot of income which until now the state is taxing them totally wrong. There is this, and I just pulled this data this morning. A website whose data updates once in 48 hours. Every visitation of the site costs 75 euro cents plus VAT. And this morning at 8 o'clock, there were a number of 8,357 accessing. This is clear data. I just got it. I just pulled it off the internet this morning. If this number of accessing we multiply it by 75 euro cents, we realize that website gets 6,267.75 euros plus VAT. There is another website which has a number of 340,827 accessing per month. An accessing costs 5 euro plus VAT. If we make a calculus, there are 1,704,130 euros. I want you to understand how much the state is charging from these from these sickness, I guess would be a good translation. The liberal affirmed in the line. In response, the representative of the government in the session said that the government is not supporting this initiative because the definitions of the products of pornographic nature are not clear, and they could lead to subjective interpretations and to difficulties in collecting the tax per se. The initiative is also supported by other parliamentarians, not only from the National Liberal Party, but also from the Democrat Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, the Social Democrats, and the Hungarian Democratic Union. This initiative has an organic character and is about to be subjected to the vote next Wednesday.
What in
really?
The actual fuck?
Really? I mean, really? And again, this is the liberals. I mean, you would expect this from the so-called conservatives, even though, let's be honest here, the Conservative Party in here is a communist party, because, they want to conserve the system that they inherited after 1989. But anyway, you would expect this from, from some religious fanatics or from the feminists in the Social Democratic Party, but really, from the so-called open-minded liberals? Really?
Yeah, that just shows how much liberalism has fallen.
I mean, really? And again, I mean, how will you follow? I mean, there is such thing as free pornographic websites, and there is such thing as torrents. And this country has the freest internet in the world, and the fastest, lagging only behind South Korea and China. So, I mean, there's nothing stopping me from using a very high performing VPN, and then how are you going to track what I'm doing? How are you? It's madness. Technically speaking, it's utter stupidity. But from a moral standpoint, what is the business of the state on what people are spending their money on what are they watching on the internet? How is this the business of the state?
Yeah, it's also completely insane what sort of arguments he uses there. It's that, it's a luxury good. I mean, yeah, so is scratching my ass. That doesn't mean it should be taxed. I mean, I don't need to scratch my ass. I can go without that. But it can be very satisfying to do that. Just imagine how much money you could collect if you put a €2 tax on everyone who scratches his ass.
Per scratch or per month?
I think per scratch.
Well, per scratch, how do you count it? I mean, if you put it per month, that would be actually a good idea. I mean, you could just tax everyone. You can't exempt yourself from the tax. I mean, how are you going to say, no, I'm not scratching my ass, never? Don't give them ideas. I mean, at least
that's literally what his argumentation comes down to. It's a luxury good, therefore it should be taxed. That.
I personally do not even subscribe to the idea of luxury good. I mean, since when is the state a regulator to decide which good is luxury and which good isn't? Since when is this something even acceptable? I mean, let's just tax this thing 50 times more than we tax the other thing because potato and luxury and really?
I remember that's been around for a long time.
Indeed, but still, I mean, it's still stupid no matter how you frame it. And again, since when it's the state's business to do that? Just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm looking forward for the vote, and I have a feeling that it might pass at least the Senate, and then it would have to pass the deputy chamber, where it's highly unlikely to happen. And even if it passes that one, it has to be signed by the president, and the president has made it perfectly clear that he doesn't want the state involved in things like that nature. But the mere fact that it is being discussed in any other way than fuck off, shut up. The mere fact that it's being seriously discussed, it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it's a straight up 19th century morality there.
Yeah, not even 19th century morality. I mean, let's face it. In this country, we had liberalized prostitution before the communists. And despite the official claims of public decency and sort of, I don't know, maybe Victorian morals, in reality, things were pretty, how do I put it? Well, decadent, if I have to put them into those kinds of terms. And the state didn't really have a problem with that, and definitely didn't try to overtax things. So it's not really 19th century morality, but rather, I don't know, late 1980s morality, when we had porn banned in this country, which is bizarre because in Eastern Germany, Honecker loved porn and all of that, and he supported it. I mean, it was. I think DDR was the only country in the Eastern Bloc who supported the porn industry and generally didn't have any restrictions on this industry. Anyway, I'm waiting for the vote, and it's gonna be fun to watch the debate. Okay. The next one is it's almost business as usual, at least in the English-speaking countries, but I think it's for the first time it happens in a non-English-speaking country. Madame Le Figaro, fête de mère, une école décide de ne plus fabriquer de cadeaux. The Mother's Day, a school decides to no longer make gifts. To avoid difficult situations, teachers of an institution from Haute-Savoie decided to no longer manufacture presents in the class for Mother's Day or Father's Day. A choice that does not happen to all parents. Sunday mothers of children in the school Aline in Haute-Savoie will not be entitled to the traditional noodle necklace or heart salt doff made at school for Mother's Day. The school's teachers have decided to remove the creative workshops to make the school a gift, to make the school equal in its approach. Not jealous enough, dads will also not be present on June 15 for Father's Day. The institution relies on the desire to avoid difficult situations for many students, as those who've lost their parents, who live in a host family or in a step family. On this one, I think the teachers are not very pedagogos or very psychologists in their approach, said Corinne, a parent of a student in Le Parisien. It is up to them to explain things to children in need. They only have to tell the child that the gift may be offered by an aunt, a grandmother, or a foster mom, but it does not need to deprive all the children of the joy of marking a gift at the school, which is reminiscent of the arguments the UMP deputies who opposed the law family included in their recognition of the status of step parents. We must remember that 80% of the children live with both parents in France. To address the situation of some by imposing a choice to all is unproductive, said Hervé Mariton, on the agreement of both parents needed to achieve major acts such as school enrollment. At Aline, in a small word slipped into... At Aline, it is the matter of a small word that slipped into the book, binding students and parents who learned about the news just now, and none of them have welcomed the idea. The text says, if the text says, leave it to the families to treat the subject themselves as they wish, this means that the school is disengaged from the mission. Some have even started a petition. The director is ready to receive them, but recalls that no text of education shall require teachers to celebrate the holidays for mothers or for fathers. So, in other words, we had on March 8th, we had the Mother's Day. That was okay. That was not offensive. That was not a problem. And now in 15 days, 16 days, whatever, there's going to be the Father's Day. And oh my God, it's offensive. We can't have that because potato. Really?
Well,
Hey, we need to get rid of St. Patrick's Day then, because not everybody is Irish.
I don't know. I've never celebrated that, but yet, I mean, really? Why?
Maybe I misunderstood, but I thought that they were not going to make presents for either Mother's Day or Father's Day.
That if their decision will finally be approved by the Board of Education, which is still unknown whether it will happen or not. What we know for sure is that the Father's Day on June 15 will not take place. Their intention is indeed to cancel them altogether, but they have to pass, it's France, it's a lot of bureaucracy in the middle of it. So, their decision now remains in place until the board meets, and since soon there will be the national exams, they're going to have a different job. Probably a final decision will be taken somewhere in October or things of that nature. But then again, why is this thing offensive? I mean, at the end of the day, all the school does is to allow the children in their place to do these kinds of things. I mean, the presents are built basically by the children. The school only nominally sponsors them in the sense that, here's a classroom, start manufacturing gifts in there if you want. So...
Yeah, and they give them the raw materials and so on.
No, sometimes not. Depends on the country. And depends on the school. Actually, in France, it depends on the school. Some of them do, some of them don't. But regardless, I mean, it's not something that it costs the school money. It's not something, or if it does, it's a ridiculously small amount of money if we are to compare with other useless crap that French schools are doing. It's not something that it costs the school, I don't know, image capital or PR or things of that nature. What is the problem? I mean, I don't know. Why is this so offensive to have a Father's Day and a Mother's Day in the school?
Yeah, I guess sort of their fear is that if, say, someone lives with a single mother and doesn't really know his father or father's absent, then they might feel left out or something. But I don't know.
Yeah, but
even if you don't have like a literal father or mother, you can still make a present for, I don't know, your stepfather or your uncle or something. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly how this mother put it in the Le Parisien.
Yep.
It's up to the teachers to be the pedagogues and the psychologists in here, and they can just see, look, okay, here's the reality. Tough luck. Life is unfair sometimes. But look, don't you have an uncle? You have to have. I mean, most of them have some sort of male relative around. Especially in France, that's applicable. I understand that in some parts of England, it's no longer applicable, and that is indeed unfortunate. But in France, it is still applicable. There are solutions to overcome this, and yeah, I mean, I agree with the UMP, which is very rare for me to agree with the UMP. But anyway, yeah, we must remember that 80% of the children in France live with both of their parents in a very nuclear family. And what are you going to do for 20%? We're going to deprive everyone from a joy like that.
yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me.
And especially for small children, I mean, if this would have been, I don't know, a high school where most of the students are at least 16 or maybe older, that wouldn't be such a big problem. But for 7-year-old children or for 6-year-old children or for 8-year-old children, these kinds of events are exactly the ones that they'll remember after years, because these are the events where they actually get to have a bit of bonding with their parents. Because, you know, in France, just like everywhere else in Europe, parents are very busy generally with working too much and things of that nature, but they all set aside a day for attending the Mother's or the Father's Day in their child's life.
Yeah, exactly.
It pretty much, and I hate to sound like a tradcon in here, but it pretty much falls in line of the French latest attempts to basically ruin, or not just ruin, but to counteract at all means any kind of manifestation of a standard family. You know, they had those. Let's remember, France is a country where they study feminist standpoint theory at the age of 10. You know, it's la théorie du genre, or something like that. It's called the l'ABCD pour l'égalité. ABCD for equality is the course, which basically includes the elements of gender theory, and they're basically teaching 10-year-olds that you know, essentially that all men are rapists and that fathers are useless, and things of that nature.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. And why?
I didn't know that they started so early.
Oh, you didn't? I mentioned it several times when I started I think it was 2 months ago. But anyway, they do have. Google it, ABCD pour l'égalité, and use Google Translate, and you'll see. Yeah, and there have been huge protests about it. As much as a third of the parents pulled their kids from school for an entire week as a protest, and many of the parents are still simply pulling their kids when that class is coming, you know, and they say, no, you're not going to teach that crap to my kid.
Yeah,
but
then again, if I were a parent, I would do that too. I mean,
yeah, of course I would. But then again, why is the French government so upset with the families in general, and especially with those who happen to have a very happy family and are very fortunate to have one? What is the problem?
if I
in
were
some
to
of the cases,
if I were to speculate, I would say that it sort of goes against the sort of socialist state agenda. Where if you have a strong family, that's that makes it a lot easier, a lot more attractive to resist state power. Whereas if you have all those single mothers and who are sort of dependent on welfare payments or at least sort of public assistance in the form of state-funded nurseries and so on, then it becomes a lot more difficult to resist further expansions of state power.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. I mean, it has to be in some way. But on the other hand, some of these regulations that are passed in France and sometimes in Britain, and we see them all over the place. In Spain, they had something similar recently. some of these seem to be inspired more in a how do I put it? In a very Dumbler way, you know, in a very Tumblr-esque, Tumblr-esque way, you know, as in check your privilege, you know. Most of these things seem to be just pulled out of one's ass, really. Anyway, maybe we'll expand on it on the second part, maybe not. But anyway, let's move to a music break. It's been a while since we've listened to a Spanish band, so let's go to a band from Castellón, Spain, from an album El Día del Tentáculo. The name of the band is Los 400 Golpes, and the name of the song is Implosión, as in implosion, which is something we wish to happen to the EU as soon as possible. So, Los 400 Golpes, Implosión. And we're back. We've listened to Los 400 Golpes, great band from Spain, Implosión. We're in the second part of the show. We're going to start kicking the ball around and throwing our 2 cents about the results of the European elections and how do they affect the advancement of feminist ideology in the European Parliament and the EU institutions in general, if they affect it at all. I'll also like to announce now that we've opened the call-in lines. The call-in number is 001-214-666 6148. I'll repeat, 001 214 666 6148. Also from the United States without 001, so 214 666 6148. So yeah, the elections have passed, and there were certain surprises, weren't they, Jon?
Yes, indeed. Was quite surprised at how well UKIP did in the UK. That I think was a big surprise to me, as well as how well the Front National did in France. That was also quite surprising. I mean, I expected those parties to do relatively well, but never to actually be the strongest party.
Yeah, with regards to UKIP, I expected to be the strongest party, but with regards to Front National, gosh, they got 2.5 more than I expected in the most optimistic prediction. I mean, I would have thought that if Front National gets, I don't know, 10, 12%, 15, that would be enough for them to celebrate for the next 10 years. But 26% and being the strongest party in France, that was indeed huge. Now, let's remember, at least when it comes to Front National, I loved when they said, "Oh, but you know, the far right have won in France." Well, everyone who says that probably never read the political program of Front National. I mean, I want to see a right-wing party supporting mass nationalizations, bringing back the capital from outside the country, expulsion, heavier licensing for non-French citizens, and things of that nature. That doesn't really, I mean, especially the nationalization part doesn't really sound like right-wing politics to me.
Well, I mean, nationalization is, it's either far left or far right. I mean, if you look at some of what Nazis or the fascists did, they also had at least some nationalization and so on. So, I mean,
yeah. Well, if we're looking,
this whole left-right dichotomy is doesn't really make all that much sense to me. It's more sort of like a brand than an actual ideology.
Indeed, especially if you're looking through the very skewed dichotomy in which basically the so-called far right are basically the right of the left, and the so-called far left are basically the left of the left. I mean, if you look into a political compass, all the extremists and all the moderates and pretty much everyone falls into the same little square that is the upper left square. So, yeah. But anyway, Deutsche Welle published a decent analysis as it pertains to the economic issues, which we discussed at length in the show when we discussed how the EU erodes economic freedom using feminist politics. I find that analysis pretty much on the point, at least to a certain extent. So, Jon, could you please introduce us to the Deutsche Welle article?
Okay, it's an article called Few Economic Surprises After EU Elections. The euro barely showed any reaction at all to the outcome of the election of the EU Parliament. At 1.36, the exchange rate for the dollar was almost the same on Monday morning as it was on Friday, 2 days before the polls. In fact, most markets opened the week with their Friday rates. In Frankfurt, Germany's DAX closed with a new record high on Friday and opened with further gains on Monday. Euro Stoxx 50, a stock index for the Eurozone, also ran higher by almost 1%. Eurosceptic parties won almost one out of 5 seats in the new EU Parliament, about 140 of the chamber's 751 deputies. The backlash was particularly strong in France and Britain. In France, the second largest economy in the Eurozone after Germany, the party emerged on top with around 25% of the vote. This is a shock, an earthquake, said French Prime Minister Manuel Valls, adding, a terrible moment for France and Europe. In Britain, the anti-EU UK Independence Party, UKIP, triumphed. And in Greece, the far-left alliance Syriza, which also opposes the European Union, placed first in the poll. Still, investors in the financial markets say there is no need to panic. Ultimately, 2/3 of the seats in the European Parliament will be filled by representatives of the established parties, namely the Conservatives and the Social Democrats. No, they're Socialists, but okay.
Yeah, and also they're not Conservatives, they're Populars. I mean, the European Popular Party. The Conservatives in the chamber are Eurosceptics. It's the AECR, the Alliance of European Conservatives and Reformists. Anyway.
Yeah. Therefore, the pro-European course in Strasbourg isn't a risk, said economist Thomas Gitzel, with a Liechtenstein-based VP bank. For Ferdinand Fichtner, economics expert at the German Institute for Economic Research in Berlin, the election result is a sign of continuity. The result is favorable for the German and the European economies, Fichtner told DW. You can be rest assured that the integration process and institutional restructuring of the monetary union will continue. The experts say the new political landscape will also contribute to improved confidence in business and in the financial markets. The election result will change little in the short to medium term, writes Christoph Weil in an election analysis for Commerzbank. But he is skeptical about the potential long-term effects. The results show a deep mistrust for European institutions among the population, writes Weil. The implication being that it will now be even more difficult to push ahead with the political union that's necessary to ensure the long-term survival of the euro. Of course, the Eurosceptic parties will try to sabotage the Eurozone, said Robert Halver, a capital market analyst with the Baader Investment Bank. However, the counter-movement of the 2/3 majority made up of established parties is stronger. The salvation of the euro will therefore remain unchanged, says Halver. The parliament will become an institution to push through Mario Draghi's monetary policy offensives. Earlier in May, the head of the European Central Bank announced plans to further ease monetary policy. Martin Wansleben, managing director of the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, warns that the strong Eurosceptic signals to emerge from the election shouldn't be overlooked. There's no business as usual. The bureaucracy will have to change, he said. He hopes the election results will help drive new momentum. We're counting on Europe to look closely at strong competitiveness and fewer bureaucratic rules, he said. Well, I mean, at least this last guy made some sense.
Some sense, with an emphasis on some.
Some, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, this kind of optimism is totally misplaced, at least in my opinion. I mean, what are they going to do? Well, it's business as usual will be better, and now the coalition is stronger. Really? I don't think so. I think it's exactly the opposite. I'm looking particularly at this phrase where it is. Oh, come on. The new political landscape will also contribute to improved confidence in business and in the financial markets. Really? Your whole house of cards is collapsing?
Yeah, that seems really strange. It's like they're just sort of desperately trying to spread some optimism or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand this. This is the kind of optimism that used to be seen in the Soviet Union right before the collapse. Oh, we're gonna continue the revolution, everything is strong, everything is great, and then 3 months later they dissolved. I mean, really? I'll probably die again. I'll probably die before understanding where is this kind of optimism coming from. The real confidence is out, and again, the confidence in the economy is at an all-time low. At the end of the day, there's less economic freedom now in the European Union than it is in Serbia, for instance, or even and it saddens me to say that, but even in China is more economic freedom than
I'm not sure about that.
than it is. Well, it depends on the area. Again, I mean, such a huge country, it really depends on the area. But at least with the people from China that I'm keeping contact with, that some of them live in the area of Shanghai, some of the others live in the area of Shenzhen. At least in those areas, the amount of regulations is significantly slower, significantly smaller. The amount of hassle that you get from the state is significantly smaller, especially if you compare to places like, I don't know, France or Belgium. So at least in that comparison, the statement definitely stands. Yeah, probably overall it's still not really that clear cut. But then again, with more and more regulations, such as forcing companies to have at least a certain percentage of women in their boards. I mean, if you remember when that motion was discussed in the Women's Rights Committee in the European Parliament, it was something like the proposal to get an even representation of the underrepresented sex, and it was something like a long German title. I mean, even the German initiator said it's too long to say it in German, and okay, let's shorten it, women on boards. And that pretty much shows you that pretty much shows you everything you need to know about that particular proposal. And with these kinds of situations, how are these people able to come and say, no, it's everything okay, nothing to see here, move along, let us do the thinking for you, everything is going just fine? How?
Yeah, I mean, the very fact that Draghi has to loosen monetary policy even further is, I mean, we already have, I mean, in terms of interest, we're already basically at rock bottom. So there isn't really much more loosening they can do. And despite that, still the economy is not going well in most EU countries. I mean, it's going well in Germany, in the Netherlands, and so on. In a few of those countries, but most of the countries, all the southern European countries, also France and so on, it's still going really badly. Yeah,
and I guess I would wager to say that it will not improve at all as long as there is this straitjacket of the euro, because it is a straitjacket. Greece could solve most of its problems, like, I don't know, in 3 years, if only there would not be in the straitjacket of the euro.
I somehow doubt that. I mean,
at the very least,
they could inflate and so on, but that wouldn't solve their problems really.
Yes, yeah, true, but at least it would open the way to create a new to get back into competitiveness, basically, because that's the issue, the competitiveness gap between everyone now. I mean, there was at least a time when France and Germany had a relatively similar competitiveness, and they were driving basically everyone else through that very strong economic bond. But lately, the competitiveness gap between France and Germany has increased so much that it now basically it's Germany and everyone else, and not even Germany is doing that fine either.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that German economy is so strong, it's just that everyone else's economy is so crappy that Germany with a sort of mediocre economy looks really good in comparison.
That's a very true story, really. That is indeed a very true story. Now, I was looking at the results. I mean, barring the most spectacular one, the France and the UK, UKIP and Front National, I'm looking at Poland, for instance, where a very Euro-critical political party came up just second, 0.5% from the winner, the Law and Justice, 32%. And then they also have some even more wackos. Those are really wackos. The Congress of the New Right, 7.2%. So if you total them together, 40% of the Polish electorate said, okay, enough with this madness. Then you have in Denmark, the Danish People's Party, 23%, the winner of the elections, again, strongly suggesting that maybe the EU should just stop regulating everyone's lives. Then you have in Austria the FPO, which came up third in the elections with 20%. And then in Finland, that was really a surprise to me. In Finland, Perussuomali said the Finns party got almost 13%, which is huge in Finnish terms. And in Greece, oh my God, in Greece, everything is wrong in there.
Yeah, I mean, in Greece, it doesn't surprise me at all.
And Syriza is basically the coalition of the radical left. They won with almost 27%.
Avast virus database has been updated.
At least they claim to be highly Eurosceptic. And again, I say Eurosceptic and not anti-Europe because I don't like this conflation with the EU and Europe. Switzerland is in Europe, but Norway is in Europe, Serbia is in Europe, Belarus is in Europe. I mean, come on. And how can one be really anti-Europe? I mean, what I'm going to say. Think of the Polish Eurosceptics. What are supposedly tomorrow they'll declare themselves anti-Europe? What are they going to do? Move Poland to neighbor Tajikistan instead of Germany? I mean, really?
No, I mean they could be against the other European countries or something like that.
Oh, that's a different stuff. But I don't see anyone really being into that kind of crap.
Yeah. Personally, I'm very much pro-Europe, which is why I'm anti-EU.
Exactly.
The EU is sort of destroying what was so great about Europe, that it has so many different countries, so many different cultures, so many different languages, so many different political systems. This sort of diversity is what produced a lot of the progress that we had in Europe during the 17th, 18th, 19th century and so on. Also led to a lot of wars, of course, but we did get a lot of progress out of that. And I think that is sort of the great thing. And now that we have nuclear weapons and wars much frowned upon, even if we didn't have the EU, it would be very unlikely to come to actual war in Europe. So there really is no good argument to be made for unification, political unification.
Yes, and it's also this kind of thing that the EU is a great champion of united in diversity. No, the moment you mix everyone into a melting pot that virtually nobody wants, that's actually destroying the diversity. Definitely not helping it. And the funny part is that definitely a loosened and freer international market between between the European countries is a good thing, but political union, to have some Dumbo bureaucrat come in and say, no, you have to have 40% women in your company's boards because we decided that in our little committee of 20 members, and we're right and you're wrong because we say so. How about no?
Yeah, it's really scary. I mean, there's this sort of great this great contradiction in leftist politically correct politics, that they're in favor of unity, diversity, and equality, but these three things just don't go together. You can't be united and diverse, and united and everyone is equal. It doesn't fit together. You have to decide for one of those. But,
yeah, and if you have diversity, then you definitely don't have equality, and I mean, the whole motto of the European Union sounds very double-speakish. The motto of the European Union is united in diversity. Really?
Yeah, I mean, the more united you are, the less diverse you are.
Yeah, and okay, disregarding this portion of the argument, let's go into actually analyze what chances are of this parliament to actually be more resistant to the long march through institutions of gender politics and political correctness. I mean, is there really a better chance? I mean, and I'm asking this genuinely, and everyone else who's listening is welcome to weigh in, either to call in or to stay in the chat room. Is there really an argument to be made that this parliament will oppose the long march of the political correctness and gender ideology better than the previous one, or worse than the previous one? I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it will be a bit more difficult to push these things through when there's a sort of bigger Euro or EU-skeptic minority, but it's still just a minority.
Oh boy, you're breaking up so bad, Jon. Jon.
Yes.
Seriously?
Oh boy. Let me see here. Nope. Well, we still got him on the line, Lucian.
Yeah, I noticed that, but I can't hear anything he says.
Well, roll on, man. Roll on.
Well, definitely I can't roll on because I just asked this question. I mean, is there really an argument to be made that the march of political correctness will be better stopped than in the previous parliament? And I don't know. I don't think you know too much about that, James. I mean,
no, I sure don't.
I mean, I don't know. For instance, someone in the chat room says, no, things will get worse. Someone else says finances will kill it. Now, yeah, sure, there is an argument to be made that finances will eventually kill the European Union, which is precisely why I'm generally optimistic over the long term, because I expect the EU to eventually fail because of the finances, but I'm not really that sure that these kinds of things, I mean, the finances killing the Euro project, I don't think this is going to happen in the next 4 years or whatever the mandate of this parliament will be. Yeah, probably 5 years. I'm not really so sure about that. And what's stopping? I mean, I don't know. What's stopping the European the how do they call it? Let me see. The counter movement, as the Deutsche Welle titles. What's stopping them now from doing the same kind of crap that they did? I don't know, until last month. When was the last time when they passed some stupid crap? What's the argument in here? I don't know. I'm not really that hopeful.
Yeah, anyway. I'm back.
Okay, yeah.
I'm always sort of amazed when I read these articles in media, especially in the German media. Whenever they talk about the outcome of this election, they're always just talking about how this means that we need to be even more bold in moving forward to unifying the EU. We need to sort of be just complete defiance against these Eurosceptics. That means that we just need to be even more vigilant about expanding the power of the EU. Basically, they just assume that EU integration is good, and that's just the end of it. If the voters don't like it, then it's just that the voters haven't been educated, or that politicians haven't done as good a job of explaining it to the voters as they could have. It's basically like the old Soviet model, that if you were against communism, that meant you were either an enemy of the people, or you were just sort of confused or mentally ill and had to be re-educated.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, don't yet have those re-education camps, but they might just come if the feminist initiative has its way.
Yeah, and it's also, this there's that the European framework for promotion of tolerance. If you remember that particular document, it still hasn't been killed. It will probably be the job of the new European Parliament to kill it, hopefully. that document also stated similar things, that if children or people enrolled in state education system or something like that espouse attitudes that are basically politically incorrect, which included, I don't know, things like anti-feminism, then those individuals should be subjected to a re-education course. That was basically the formulation, a re-education course. I believe we also have a gulag, a sort of a gulag. I mean, this political correctness that basically obscures the language altogether. I don't know if you ever had the patience to watch a debate in the European Parliament. I do. I watch them pretty much regularly. I don't watch them religiously, but I watch them regularly, especially on topics such as gender politics and economics. You have to look... there was usually, I don't know, 10 people speaking, representatives of every party and group and whatnot, and 9 of them said basically the same thing, and one of them said, "Look, what the fuck are you doing? This is wrong." And at least from this perspective, I would expect an improvement in this parliament, because at least in the same scenario, there will be at least 2, maybe 3 people saying, "Look, what the fuck are you doing? This is wrong." And I don't know if that helps anyone. I don't
know. Maybe it will just be used as sort of a threat narrative that here's these bad people in the European Parliament having those radical ideas. Therefore, we must be even bolder and moving towards democracy and so on. Yeah,
democracy for me, totalitarianism for thee. That is probably the European. Probably the EU should change its motto to get to be more realistic. No, I mean seriously. At the end of the day, when now at least we would expect probably, and I don't know, I will stand corrected if I'll get this wrong, but I would think that now, at least as how the European Parliament looks now, at least 1 in 5, probably 1.5 in 5 MEPs will strongly take an anti-feminist stance. Because let's not forget, there are even members in the established groups, the EPP and even LD sometimes, who take non-feminist stances. That should be a good thing. In the past, there was 1 in 10 at best.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement. It's progress.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to look this not through my own opinion, but from a realpolitik, standpoint. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care what Syriza, for instance, from Greece, believes. I probably disagree with pretty much everything they have to say. But if Syriza, for instance, will push for I don't know, less EU in gender politics, then from an MRM perspective and from a realpolitik perspective, that's a gain. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I'm actually don't really know anything about what Syriza believes, if they're somewhat anti-feminist or anything like that. But
well, I don't believe they are. But on the other hand, they're highly Eurosceptic. So I would expect them to vote against feminist policies, not on the basis that they disagree with them, but on the basis that maybe that power should be left to the nation states, to the member states, whatever.
Yeah, that could happen. That's plausible, I think. Yeah.
And at the very least, this brings control more on the local level, because it's easier to convince, I don't know, a regional committee or I don't know, that's responsible for 4 counties in my area. It's easier to convince those that are wrong than to convince a huge unaccountable bureaucracy 1,500 kilometers away from me.
Yeah, the bigger the bureaucracy becomes, and the farther it is removed from home, the easier it is to impose tyrannical measures.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking you and also the people from the chat room these questions is because I intend to write a huge piece analyzing the results, and I'm not still I'm not. I have some answers, some unanswered questions. One being this, if it's really a good thing from an MRM perspective, and also on the other hand, could we really hope in at least slowing down of the growing power of the EU? Because when I'm thinking of people like Angela Merkel, I'm thinking of that book, Why Intelligent People Believe Stupid Things. And Angela Merkel would probably be the perfect politician had it not been for her strong Euro fanaticism.
I'm not sure if she really is a Euro fanatic. I think she's just a sort of very pragmatic person who just does whatever she believes will get her votes, which is often just to wait and not do much, which makes her better than many politicians who do lots of stupid things. At least Angela Merkel only does few things, so she can't do that much damage.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, you're probably right. But then again, and also I don't know. I guess my next question would be: is there any hope to actually now have more people talking against this idea once the polls have spoken? Because as you've told me once, I don't know if it was in a private conversation or you said it on the air. In Germany, for instance, if you talk against the EU, you're basically cataloged as the new Hitler, which is
but it wasn't the last show.
Yeah, I mean, really, why?
I couldn't tell you why, but it's just. There's just this one official approved opinion that EU integration is a good thing and everything else is just far-right extremism. I've never really found a good reason for that, and if you talk to people why they're in favor of the euro and the EU, the reasons they give you are like really bad reasons. They tell you that Germany profits from the EU because they get to trade with other EU countries, because we all know that Switzerland and Norway are not allowed at all to trade with trade with other European countries, and that's why they are so poor and desperate.
I mean, it's full of Mercedes cars in Albania, and Albania will probably never join the EU. Yeah. So, really, that's really a crappy argument.
Yeah, and they tell us that the EU gives us peace in Europe and so on, but you don't need political integration for that. You can, I mean, for instance, I'm very certain that the NATO has a lot more to do with that than the EU, that we haven't had war in Europe, and of course the existence of nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
but I mean,
as a deterrent. Yeah, you're probably correct on that. But then again, if the EU is such a peace bringer, then why is there more discontent between the peoples of Europe now than it was, I don't know, let's say, not that long ago, in 1999, for instance?
Yeah, because if you unify people like that under one political roof, and they give them lots of things to fight over. Whereas if you have no political union and just sort of allow free trade and free association and so on, then people can just associate when they want and not associate when they don't want. Everyone gets to trade with everyone else, and no nation can force their stupid beliefs on other nations, and you have a lot more harmony and a lot more peaceful relationships in Europe. Whereas now, sort of the Greeks hate the Germans and paint Merkel with the Hitler moustache and so on, and the Germans are thoroughly fed up with having to bail out the Greeks, and there's all this animosity now because of this.
There was no animosity. There was no animosity between the Greeks and the Germans. I don't know. Again, just 15 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
No, the same I can say for myself. I mean, just 10 years ago, there was literally no animosity at all between the Romanians and French. Now there's a huge dispute, both at political level and at the lower level, the people themselves. There's a lot of animosity.
We've got a caller, folks.
Okay.
I'm going to transfer our caller on over here. Welcome to the show.
Hello, unnamed caller.
Hello, my name is Javier, but on the IRC I'm Graphic.
Okay, hello, Graphic. Nice to hear your voice.
Okay, so I've lost a bit the last part of the conversation because I was calling you guys, but I would like to give my opinion about what is going on with the... So, Syriza in Greece has stated that now they don't care much about feminism because it's not the problem that Greece has right now, that they will get to it after things calm down. The same in the same way they stated about the socialist ideas. So that's okay, let's wait in 5 years, 6 years, you will get this socialism and stuff. So things are not looking well in that aspect. In Spain, that the major parties like Partido Popular and the Socialist Workers' Party have lost a lot of votes, but another new party, Podemos, got some like 8-10% of support. They really had a strong feminist department, let's say. So I believe that this radical left parties, they all have their feminist department, so they will get more votes and political correctness will increase in the European Union.
Yeah, well, in regards to Spain, you're probably correct. As I was watching the results in the night of the elections, when the results from Spain came in, I was looking for every single party, and of course, there was the first one was the Popular Party, and then from the second until the last one, because there were like 13 parties who sent at least one MEP, all of them were feminist leaning, all of them. And there was one of them which was actually founded by a bunch of feminist academics who will send at least 8 or 9 MEPs, something like that. It's horrific. The results in Spain were hugely disappointing for me, given the fact that just recently they had so many people up in the streets protesting against feminism. Really, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in Spain at least they are mixing two things. One thing is that they don't like the current political party, so they are voting against Partido Popular. And what happened last week with one of the members of the parliament, that he made a sexist comment and mixed two things together. That he lost a debate, but the other people were saying, no, you're a sexist, so things weren't going.
Yeah, we covered that case here, yeah.
I heard it, so people are punishing a political party, they are not voting for the others, they are looking for someone else. I mean, if I vote these guys, will this big party suffer? Yes, okay, I will vote you, I don't care.
So what you're basically saying that a lot of these results, and especially in Spain, have a lot to do with what the analysts call a protest vote?
Yeah, and in Greece, the day of the elections, that even there was a second round because it was the local elections for the city hall and the prefectures. People were saying that, okay, you might not believe in Syriza, but vote them because those guys that are in the government, they are doing bad things and they need to learn the lesson that they are not doing things right. So please vote me. Even Syriza was calling some the voters of the fascist party or far-right party, Golden Dawn, telling them that, okay, guys, I know that you are not fascist, that you just want to vote a different party, don't just vote me. Like, appealing to everyone. I mean, I just, perhaps 2 days ago I was bashing you and telling you really bad things, but I really know that you are really good guys, so vote me.
What do you think about that, Jon? I mean, it's fascinating. It really is.
It really is definitely fascinating. I mean, I get it that the Greeks are really upset about the government, but I mean that these Syriza guys. I mean, I haven't like read their program, or I don't really know in detail what they stand for, but I can't imagine them improving things in any way in Greece. Most likely they're just going to make things much worse, so I don't know about that.
Yeah, the Prime Minister of Greece was also complaining that the voters transformed the Euro plebiscite into a referendum about the government. I guess he was right.
Yeah, it happened before. I mean, there were other elections, and the right party lost like 4%. Like right now, the left gained. There's a difference of 4%, and the left was trying to force elections. It was like 5 years ago, and this happened again now. The left says that okay, it's not national elections, but we've won, so we want national elections because people has changed his mind. And of course, the people in power, but now it's a coalition of center, left, and right. And some of them were the same. Some of them were the same that 5 years ago were asking for elections when they got this 4% more. So now they are saying no, we need the coalition party, for stability, for businesses. What will happen with the tourism? This fear theory that vote for me or Godzilla will, destroy the Parthenon, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the image of the prime minister these days. Like nothing happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I've read similar stuff, so I guess now hearing from someone who actually lives there, I'm more convinced that some of the sources are better than I expected. Well, in that respect, let's move to a music break because we're soon going to have to wrap things up and call it night. If you want, you can stay on the line during the music break, and then we'll come back with the closing thoughts, Javier, if you want to.
Okay.
For the music break, we're gonna listen a band called Shroud Eater, a doom metal heavy influenced band. It's an instrumental song from their debut 3-track EP. The name of the song is Cyclone. So Shroud Eater, Cyclone.
Ah!
And we're back. We have listened to Shroud Eater, Cyclone, a doom metal band. We're into the closing thoughts portion of the show. We have a little over 9 minutes left until we have to call it night. So I'm gonna hand the mic straight to Javier to give in some final thoughts about the elections results in the European Union. Javier.
Okay, so in Greece, at least people were calling for a change. The feminism and gender issues were not, nobody talked about it. They are there. Some parties stated that they plan to work on them, but not right now because Greece has some issues. And because I'm also from Spain and following the elections in Spain, there things seem the same like in Greece. Like there's a new left parties that they have, of course, their gender only for women department, and they are getting more votes because they are an alternative. So in both countries, people want an alternative, and the parties that are getting the votes, I believe that they are not the ones that will help anyone of us.
Mm-hmm. So I take it that you believe Syriza, for instance, will probably vote feminist in the European Parliament.
Do they have Syriza? It's a group of
yeah, it's a coalition.
Parties.
Yeah.
Coalition. One of these political parties is the Greek Women Coalition.
Clearly. Yeah.
So they are not addressing it right now, but they will when they get there.
Clearly. Okay, that's indeed the bad news. All right. Thank you for calling in, Javier. I'm looking forward for you to call in again in future editions.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Jon, final thoughts.
Yeah, so overall I'm reasonably happy with the outcomes of the election. I think it's good that we have some sort of counterweight to all this pro-EU propaganda that we have these days. I don't think it's going to massively slow down the EU, but it at least will slow things down slightly. Maybe some of these politicians will think a bit more carefully about whether they actually want to expand EU power further and further. So I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. Also, of course, that there are more sort of non-feminist MEPs in the European Parliament. Of course, a lot of these sort of non-feminist more sort of very conservative or very right-wing people who are likely to be traditionalists and oppose feminism for that reason. But at least if the traditionalists and feminists fight with each other, that can only be good for us. So I think it is a step in the right direction, and it is of course a bit worrying to see some of these far right and far left parties get into the parliament. For example, in Germany, the NPD, which is a straight up neo-Nazi party, got 1 seat. It's just 1 seat, and that guy is not going to do much in the parliament, but it's still sort of a worrying sign.
One seat too many, yeah.
Yeah, but on the whole, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm pretty much of the same opinion, with the caveat that if we really can't get away from what Dean rightfully called the pendulum of gynocentrism, it would have been even better if we would have, 40% feminists, 40% traditionalists, and 20% people who don't give a fuck, because that would have kept all of them in check and leave us the fuck alone. That would have been a better outcome. But on the other hand, given the circumstances, it's better than what I would have hoped. Let's say 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was entirely convinced that there's almost no way to increase the number of non-feminists in the European Parliament, and that their entire long march will just continue underanged or unfettered. Nobody will gonna stand up to them. Maybe that will change. In the next days, I'm gonna start counting the numbers and compile a new list of feminist MEPs, like the one I compiled a year ago, and see how the new parliament looks like. It's gonna be a very long piece, so watch out in the next days, the front page of AVFM, because I'm gonna try to compile it. Thanks a lot to Javier for calling in and for clearing some of the things up, because me following Greek politics is very unlikely, for the simple fact that the language is too inaccessible for me. And no, I'm sorry, I can't. I just can't. Greek and Finnish are probably the languages that I'll never understand, no matter how much of a polyglot I'll be. With that being said, I guess we've covered pretty much everything. We didn't cover the menstrual leave part, but that was anyway of a tangent. Maybe we'll dedicate an entire show of it if it becomes more of a thing. Well, with that being said, check out tomorrow. It's Tales from the Infrared with Dean Esme at 6 p.m. Britain time, 7 p.m. Germany time, 8 p.m. Greece and Finland time. And with that being said, take the red pill. Take care, everyone.
This has been a production of A Voice for Man. Lucian Vâlsan and his guests, thank you for listening to The Voice of Europe. A Voice for Man radio is not corporate media, and everything runs on donations. So please consider visiting avoiceforman.com and make a donation. We would also like to thank the artists De Prima Terra, Mbezna, Cristian Buica, the Iranian band Arsames, the DDG Project, and all the other artists that offered us their songs to use under Creative Commons license. Special thanks go to www.pacdv.com/sounds for putting the sounds of the jingles at our disposal. We would also want to remind the listeners to take the red pill. Thank you for listening to us and have a great evening. Ați ascultat Vocea Europei.